we have with us, with the beautiful artwork in the background, Cailan Libby, who is the co-founder of Happipad, which we have discovered recently and absolutely love. Cailan's going to tell us all about that, but it's growing rapidly. You're getting lots of great recognition for what you're doing, and you started this in Kelowna, is that correct, Cailan?
That's right.
Awesome. So we'll turn it over to you shortly. And then on the bottom of your screen, or wherever, however you have your screen set up, we have Gordon Neate, who is with Compass Co Housing. He's the director there. And Compass Co Housing is doing a purpose-built co-housing strata unit out in Langley. And so they're progressing along with that nicely. And the city of Langley is working with them to get this done. So he's going to tell us a little bit about what that looks like. So that's a purpose-built strata titled condo that's being built, which is fantastic. And the lovely Bill Chalmers and the lovely Esther Sarlo are waving from Esther's office, which is just across the way from me. They're my Cohousies, and they sort of stumbled into co-housing quite by accident, and they're going to tell us a little bit about what it's like to be in co-housing. And we have my friend in Toronto, Alisa Choi, and Alisa is working on the committee. She's running the committee for the WREN co-housing group. We've got lots of people who are interested, and we're going to be growing that and talking about what we're going to be doing specifically here with WREN. So we've got lots of information to share, and as I say, I'll get the co-housing, I'll get that little question box sorted out while we turn things over to Cailan. But just a quick overview. We're going to, as I say, have all of our panelists give a little bit of a background, talk a little bit about what co-housing is. There's all kinds of different terminology: co-housing, co-living. It's really, you know, the sharing economy is what we're in right now. And right now, while we're in the midst of COVID-19, we're not sharing anything. So keep your germs to yourself. But there are a lot of us who are living in co-housing or shared housing or living with roommates or however you want to call it. And I know that we're really happy to not be on our own. And one of the other big things that we're noticing is a lot of people are taking their families out of the retirement homes as quickly as they possibly can. So some friends of mine, for example, took their dad out of a retirement home and they went up to the Sunshine Coast to their second property there. And so they're all hiding out there as a family and staying healthy and happy and active and positive. So the co-housing conversation is really exciting, and it's just going to get bigger and bigger as we move through all of this. So without further ado, Cailan, I'm going to give you the power and give you the screen. And so if you can see Cailan's screen, everybody, just let us know. And yep, I can see it. Looking good.
Wonderful.
And Cailan, you can tell us a little bit about Happipad and what you're doing.
Wonderful. Well, thanks everyone for connecting. My name's Cailan, CEO and co-founder of Happipad. So we are a social enterprise that started in Kelowna, BC in 2016 with the simple mission of helping address affordable housing challenges, primarily for students at the time. And since then, our research has evolved quite a bit into understanding a lot about affordable housing in general. And through a few years of research with the University of British Columbia, we discovered that co-living is an ideal solution to help address affordable housing challenges. So this was essentially where Happipad started, is just trying to address this issue of housing affordability. But we realized that housing affordability really is closely tied with many social issues that we have. And again, social issues are related to co-living, and there's some challenges faced there. So in short, Happipad tries to address these social challenges to therefore address these affordable housing challenges. So enough of background. Let's get into a bit of the problem statement that Happipad is working with. Can everyone see the slides all right? Is it rendering okay?
Yes. Yeah.
Great. So the first problem that we have is housing is very expensive. You know, this is true across most of the world, particularly North America and many Canadian cities. At the same time, we have many spare bedrooms that sit empty. Statistically in Canada, it's about every 1 in 3 bedrooms are sitting empty. And the third thing is the stranger danger. Now, this refers to something our society has grown up around, that we can't trust strangers. And this is the ultimate barrier that prevents, often co-housing and co-living arrangements from becoming the norm. We're going against the status quo of trusting strangers and forming these relationships. So what Happipad does is we focus on this third point first by trying to reduce these barriers that people have about the stranger danger. This allows us to open up this unused inventory we have across our country, which ultimately provides more housing inventory, allowing us to address the affordable housing challenges, but also creating these inclusive communities that relate to the sharing economy. So some statistics across Canada, there's approximately 12 million, just over 12 million empty bedrooms across Canada. This is about one of every three bedrooms that sits empty. And to put that into relationship, there's about just over 2 million post-secondary students in Canada and about 4 million mature adults living alone. So if you look at these ratios, we couldn't even fill half these spare bedrooms, with all of our students and all of our, mature adults living alone. So needless to say, we have a lot of unused inventory in our country that could be put to better use. So the solution that we've been developing is simply forming co-living arrangements, or on a more specific term, a home sharing arrangement. So what this means is we're connecting compatible vetted people together to share a home. Each person has their own bedroom, usually their own bathroom, but they share common spaces, including the kitchen and often living room. So you can think of this much like a family type arrangement. Now, co-living or home sharing, it feels different than your traditional roommate arrangement. It's not just about monetary exchange and using the space in the house. It's not just a rental. It's about companionship. It's about helping each other with house chores. Oftentimes in these arrangements, there's a task exchange where usually the renter will provide extra assistance with collecting groceries, shoveling snow, doing these other tasks for reduced rent, or else maybe in exchange for meals or other benefits. So this picture you see here is a feature that CBC did on us last fall with one of our elder hosts in the Okanagan region, with a young lady who was living with her at the time, who was studying to become a paramedic. So why is this important? I mean, I talked a little bit about affordable housing, but the well-being of people, particularly the mental health, is a very important element. The Globe and Mail has reported, actually many media sources have reported, that loneliness has become an epidemic. We talk about, COVID-19 is a hot topic right now of the effects it has. And we're starting to see some social effects of people being alone. I know myself, I'm starting to feel it a bit right now. To put this into perspective, York University has done some great research on this, as they've had many student suicides in recent years. And they found that the stressed student space is quite severe. In fact, over 46% of students regularly felt so depressed it was difficult to function. Now, most of the stress comes from financial stress, from tuition fees and living costs. And we see the same trends across most universities in Canada. So home sharing, co-living, it creates connections, someone to talk to with over meals, talk about life, all these things. So it's creating, social value, but as well as economic value by using the space more efficiently. So where does this all come to? So Happipad's solution, after a few years of doing this research and diving into this problem, we developed Canada's first home sharing platform. So you can think of this much like a combination of Airbnb and a matchmaking or a dating website, where you can find compatible people and share spaces together. You can share apartments or homes or whatever type of living arrangement that you prefer to have. So we have two sides. We have the hosts, who are the home providers. We have the guests, who are the home seekers or the renters. Now, each person creates a unique profile, and you can find and match people in that regard. So here's a little snapshot of what the platform looks like. So on the left side of the screen, you can see the rental aspects of it. You can browse maps, look by price, location, pet friendly, whatever you want to look for. And on the right side, you can, once you find a property, you can look who lives there. So here's an example of a host, Colin. He's from New Zealand. He's a business owner. He likes to cook. And below you can see his personality traits. So we take a few hundred different data points that we sample, and we create a matchmaking profile for each person. This allows you to determine if this person will be a good match. So are they extroverted or introverted? Are they organized, or do they like freestyle? These are all important elements that come into play. So this is a very unique proposition to the rental landscape, particularly. As conventional solutions today, it's like a smorgasbord, right? You go to classifieds, don't really know what you're getting. So the Happipad platform is like a catered tool that allows you to find these suitable matches and find homes that share the same values and interests as yourself. So I want to share another concept that we're currently working on, which is an evolution of our existing platform. And this is a 55+ co-living program. So this is something we're in the process of launching right now. We hope to have it live this summer. And what we're doing is we're building upon our existing framework and introducing a specific 55+ co-living arrangement, where we take these single-family homes and we match anywhere from 2 to 5 55+ individuals to share this home together. Now, the rental terms can be flexible from a few months to a few years, depending on what people want. And the idea is we're trying to create micro retirement homes, something that's, you know, a little bit less maintenance than your typical house, but, you know, you want a lot more independence and freedom than you would from a traditional institutional retirement living. And we're offering 3 levels of support as well in partnership with Seniors Outreach and Resource Center. So level 1 is your housing companion. These are just your housemates, as you might call them, your home sharers. And this means the people that you share the house with. So you can take turns cooking meals, picking up groceries, etc. You know, level 2 adds a weekly home visit or monthly home visit from someone to a care aide usually, or just a social worker. And level 3 is providing a more intensive level of professional support, such as dietitians or coaches, things like this. So the concept is pretty simple. It's matching compatible people together to share a space. Much like the home sharing arrangement, everyone has their own private spaces, but you have a communal kitchen. So co-living arrangements are, you know, all fall under this philosophy. It's both finding compatible people that share similar values and interests to come together and share a space. Now, an interesting statistics from Stats Canada in 2014 shows that people who lack this social connection was linked to a 60% increase in the risk of dementia and cognitive decline. An interesting observation I've made with the older individuals that have started co-living and home sharing with our program across BC is usually within a few weeks, we notice their home is much more organized, they're much happier, and their whole outlook has changed significantly. Now, as far as barriers come, I talked at the beginning of stranger danger. This is usually the biggest barrier we see as people are concerned about you know, losing control of their house. They're concerned about it being messy, you know, concerned about lack of privacy. But we've actually found the opposite in these living arrangements. People usually, their homes are more organized. You know, they love the company. They feel like they're more productive in their days. They have more purpose. So it's you know, usually the biggest barrier is just ourselves opening up our minds to these arrangements. So this slide here is just one of our partnerships with Seniors Outreach and Resource Center. This is in the Kelowna office, and this is part of our Connect a Million campaign. So this is one of our objectives, to connect 1 million seniors through co-living by the year 2025. So this could be seniors living with seniors or intergenerational connections, much like what you've seen in the previous picture. So I just want to talk quickly about the 4 key impact points that Happipad is making and the 4 values that we do. So one is housing security. So co-living, it provides affordable rental options for people needing spaces, and those who already have homes that are overhoused, it provides them some extra support around their house and some extra income. Now, the support is really where role Happipad comes in. You know, we serve to help with the matchmaking, the background screening, and provide the ongoing support throughout these living arrangements to help resolve any conflicts or complications that happen. So this is working to eliminate those barriers that prevent people from considering these living arrangements. Third benefit is social connections. This is something that happens within the house. And we've seen all sorts of amazing connections from different matches, from senior matches, from student matches, single mothers, invisible minorities. Everyone seems to connect on a unique level once you get the right people together. And the last thing is ultimately aging in place. I look at my mother and the people in our co-living homes, and we've had individuals well into their 90s, and they love being in their homes. They get to tend to their gardens and live freely. And I just see it so much more fulfilling than the institutional retirement home. So that's ultimately the power that co-living allows you to obtain. So just some quick slides of previous matches. So this gets a feature on CBC, a couple individuals, invisible minorities matching together formed a really unique connection. These are some of our oldest matches. Frank here, he's 93 years old. This is me in the photo. I was actually visiting that day because every Sunday they have a brunch together. He has two students, university students, living with him, and this is actually his daughter in the front of the screen, who lives in the same city. This is one of her single mothers. She now has her third match. Currently has a student from Syria living with her, and they've connected just like family. Actually, this is quite unique, as the student. Actually, this student you see in this picture became a role model for her son. She has a preteen son who was, I don't know, maybe not really a troublemaker, but a little bit lost, so to say. But I mean, through this connection, her son was, encouraged to focus on maths and sciences, and now her son wants to pursue engineering at university. So, these truly can be like family type arrangements, and provide a lot of support beyond just the economics. So that's the end of my presentation. This is a quick picture of our team that works out of Kelowna. We have a few other people not in this picture as well that work behind the scenes, some of our developments. But anyways, that's my presentation. If you have any questions, I'm happy to field them.
That's awesome, Cailan. I think what Happipad is doing is just so fantastic. And if those of you who are hearing about this for the first time, I highly recommend you go and have a look at their website. They've written some great blogs. If it's something that you're interested in as being a host or a guest, definitely sign up. When I started to look at putting a co-housing program together, I decided that Cailan and his team had already done such a great job that I didn't want to go out and reinvent the wheel. So we're going to be working in a community partnership to make sure that people who are looking for this type of living arrangement, if they're looking through WREN, then we'll be working with Happipad if the situation works for what people are looking for. So some of you probably know one of the big drivers for WREN, the Women's Real Estate Network, is we've got lots of women, and we don't want to go into the institutional retirement home. Cailan, you said it. It's that institutional retirement home. Really, who wants to do that? Especially nowadays. I mean, we talked about the epidemic of loneliness, and now we have the pandemic added to that, so it's making it even worse. So we've got lots of ladies who are looking at potentially renting their own large house, or buying a mansion in the sun and having all their best gal pals coming and living with them. So there's lots and lots of different ways that these needs are being met. And Cailan, you guys just hit it out of the park with what you are bringing to the country, and you're just going to grow and expand, and we're all just going to be cheering you on. So thank you for that. So if anybody has any questions, feel free to pop them in the question box. It looks like a couple people have said hello, and I did get my question box fixed, so I think we are up to date there. And I think what I'll do next is shift over to Gord Neate. Gord is with the Compass Co-Housing development that is happening over in Langley, British Columbia. Now, Gord, did you have any slides that you want me to? I need to give you some volume here. Hold on a sec.
Liza, while you're doing that, Bill has a question. Can we ask it now?
Absolutely.
Okay, Cailan, you mentioned that you've got ways to manage conflict resolution or mediation after you've kind of joined up the people. Is that a formal process that people can apply to, or can ask you to come in and mediate something that's a bump inside a house, or how does that look?
Yeah, so part of it, it starts with what we call a proactive support system. So traditional rentals, residential tenancy is reactive. So people have a conflict and they go through a hearing and there's a resolution. So instead, our proactive system is we do multiple follow-ups. So when people first move in, first 2 weeks and monthly thereafter, just to monitor the ongoing, how the arrangement is going. So this allows us to do little interceptions to prevent things from escalating. In the event that things do escalate, we do have a team of social workers and we do have an in-house counsel, a lawyer, who's a mediation expert to assist with anything that requires that support.
Fabulous, thank you.
And is that all in Kelowna?
Yes, our head office is in Kelowna. We have operations all across BC, and we are planning to operate, maybe in most provinces in Canada by the end of this year. We've been working on some developments in PEI, Ontario, and Alberta. So in the next few months, we should be in those provinces at least.
Cool. Fantastic.
Thanks.
And we'll do whatever we can to support you with that growth.
Yeah.
So Gordon, we just need you to unmute yourself from your end. Let's see if we can hear you. There we go. And Gordon, do you have a slide or two that you wanted to share?
No, I'm sorry, I don't have any slides.
That's okay. No big deal. So I'm just going to turn off the, I'll take back the control for now. And you can go ahead and tell us about Compass Co-Housing.
Yeah, about 6 years ago, a few of us got interested in the co-housing concept and just fell in love with the idea. And we started looking for a place to set up a new co-housing community. BC's in an enviable position where we have the lion's share of co-housing in Canada right now. We have about 16 co-housing communities that are up and running, and a couple more that are in the pipe right now as well. So we thought we would start the second one here in Langley. The first one is Windsong Co Housing, which was the very first co-housing community in Canada, which was built about 23 years ago. So we're currently working on that. It took us forever to find a piece of land that we could use. We had ideas of having an agrarian-based community at one point, but trying to develop ALR land was just an impossibility. So we moved over to a more urban look. What we did primarily to get ourselves really rolling is we stopped looking for land. And we started building contacts, and we decided that what we would do first of all is we would build our contacts with the Township of Langley councillors, talk about the concept with them, talk about who we were and why we wanted to do what we wanted to do. Now, they were completely sold on the idea. It wasn't really a hard sell because we've already had housing in Langley, and having a second one was a very attractive notion to the council. Through the course of those communications and those relationships that we built, we discovered that the Township of Langley has an inventory of land, and they had a piece of land that they thought would be appropriate for us for co-housing. So we have signed a contract to purchase and sale on that land. We have now hired a developer to help us build out this project, and we've just hired an architect. We have approximately 10 equity members in our group right now, and we have about 8 associate members who have not actually thrown money into the pot yet, aside from a small membership fee. So right now we're building membership. We're probably about a year and a half away from actually putting shovels in the ground. We're looking at building something on the side of about 36 units, with about a 5,000 square foot common house. Common house will include the things you'd expect to see in a co-housing community, which would be a nice big kitchen for everybody to have cook meals in, a nice big dining room for everybody to eat meals in. We're going to have a nice play area for children so that they can play inside during the inclement weather. We will also have a music rehearsal studio, so that people, well, first of all, a number of us are musicians, so we want a place to be able to rehearse. And I'm personally interested in getting kids interested in music and helping kids form bands. So it'll be a great place. There'll also be some small rehearsal rooms where kids can go with their trumpets and their trombones and God forbid, their clarinets. and have a quiet space to rehearse without making everybody crazy. Sorry, excuse me. Right now, we've run through a whole whack of pro formas trying to get our pricing sorted out. We're trying to get that down to market level, which is about, in Langley area, is about 600, a build cost, including land cost, of about $600 a square foot. In Vancouver, you're looking at about $1,000 a square foot for build cost. So it's a little bit less out here, but you still got to be in market range, because there are some intricacies that you have to navigate with in terms of financing with banks, and they don't want to see your properties come in too far above market level. But the reality is, at least in British Columbia, that co-housing is not low-cost housing. It's not affordable housing. And co-housing often comes with a premium. And I like to think of it as buying waterfront property. You're going to pay a higher price, but you're going to get waterfront. And in co-housing, you're going to pay a higher price per square foot, but you're going to get co-housing. So it's something that there are intangibles in co-housing, the sense of community in particular, people having your backs, people to communicate with, feeling connected, knowing that you've got a good group of friends nearby, knowing that you can walk in and plunk down $5 and have a great meal and only have to cook 3 nights a month. You know, there's huge advantages to it. There's economies of scale and sharing internet resources so that everybody's not paying their separate internet bill. We'll have a woodworking shop so that everybody doesn't have to own a chainsaw. You know, so there's just things that you can do that really enhance your life. One of the things that's really wonderful about co-housing, I believe, is that you get to live in a smaller space. I believe in living in smaller spaces. I think most of us have way too much space and don't use most of what we have. And living in a smaller space, but making use of your common house amenities. If you want a quiet place to go to work on your laptop, go to the conference room. If you want to get out of the house and have a chat with somebody, go to the lounge. If you want to go and crank up an amp and bang on your guitar, go to the music room. So you just don't really have to be confined by the 4 walls of your particular apartment. I like to think of co-housing units as a cabin on a cruise ship. You go there to do some of the essentials, but the rest of the time you're out and about, and you're with the rest of your travelers. So at the moment, we are in a very interesting position with our particular co-housing community, because we had negotiated the price on a piece of land, which was then going to be subdivided. There was going to be a lower portion, a southern portion of this land, that we have a right of first refusal and an option to purchase. Now, the township would like to take that away from us, because they have got themselves into a bit of a dilemma with the family that originally sold them this land. And the family believes that they have a handshake deal with the township that this land was supposed to be turned over for park, which was going to be their legacy to the community. So now the township is desperate to claw back some of this property that we are contracted with them for, so that they can resolve this issue that they have with this family. Well, that means an opportunity lost for us, because we were going to commercially develop that land and realize a profit on that development. So now we have a negotiating tool with the township to try to drop the value of the property that we're actually going to build our co-housing community on. So it puts us in a good position in that respect. There are some other things that we're going to be negotiating on too, but I can certainly see our land price dropping over the next couple of months, which will really help out our pro formas and make this a bit more affordable than it's looking at the moment. In terms of a generational mix in this community, we're not quite sure exactly what it's going to look like yet. I think it's going to be a very organic thing. Originally, we started off wanting a very multi-generational community, try to get half families, half older folks. But I have a feeling that this is going to develop into a community that is primarily seniors with some families. We're not saying it's a seniors co-housing, because that's not what we want. But the reality is that the prices are such that The people who are going to really move this project ahead, and I think this is like this in a lot of co-housing communities, the people who move it ahead initially are people who are older or retired, have access to funds, can leverage the equity in their properties to get that upfront money that's required to get these things started. Do I think this is the perfect model? Absolutely not. I do not think this is the perfect model. And this is one of the reasons why a grassroots, why we're working with our developers so very carefully to help that developer start to incorporate co-housing as a niche construction market for them, and why we're working with architects who have had co-housing experience before. What we want to do is we want to connect with certain people in the industry to have the machinery at our fingertips when a project presents itself. So if a group of people come together and say, you know, this is something we'd like to do, say, okay, don't reinvent the wheel, we'll hook you up. You know, we'll get you in touch with the people who can help you here so you can get it done right from the get-go. Or if a piece of land presents itself and we say, hey, this is a great opportunity, let's jump on this. Let's see if our developer would like to snap up this piece of land, build a co-housing community that could later be sold on completion. So, and that's the way it's being done in Denmark, to the large part. Most of the co-housing communities in Denmark are developer driven now. They know how to do it. They know how to do it well. You don't have to start at the grassroots and go through an enormous learning curve and scramble around and make a ton of mistakes. You can just get it built for you. And that's kind of the model that we'd like to get starting here in, at least in British Columbia initially, because the grassroots model is really a death by 1,000 cuts sometimes. And it can be a painful process, and a lot of people have lost a lot of money on it, where they've bought property, they've tried to get it rezoned, found that they couldn't, and they've just thrown money away and had to start over again, or worse than that, they just haven't started over again. So there's a group of us that will once we get our community built, it's a group of us that will be creating a company that will act as consultants for future co-housing communities. And my immediate dream is to get one built out in Mission, get one built in Abbotsford, because I think those communities are changing and have changed so much in the last 10 years. There are so many more amenities out there. It's kind of ripe for co-housing right now. Mission did not look that good 10, 15 years ago, but now they've got a lot of infrastructure out there. Land values are still reasonable. So it's a good opportunity for co-housing.
That sounds fantastic, and I can't wait to keep following how Compass Co-Housing unfolds. There are a couple of things that I just wanted to point out that were interesting. Government money and support is becoming a lot more viable. CMHC, for example, has the Rental Construction Financing Initiative, and they are open to allowing purpose-built rental co-housing apartment condos. So that's pretty exciting. A couple of other things just interesting. It's not just about the money. A lot of people initially were thinking that co-housing was a way of saving money, but as you're hearing from Gordon, a lot of people are actually spending more money because they want to live in community. They want to have this intentional lifestyle. They want to live in a house where they have more amenities. They're not, you know, they'd have access to outdoor space. The 2,000 square foot, I call the silo lifestyle that we've had for so long, just doesn't work anymore. And so, yes, the timing is definitely coming up, that it definitely makes more sense. Your cruise ship analogy, Gord, I think is great, because I talk about that a lot. I worked on cruise ships, so I speak about that as being, it's the ultimate co-housing unit.
That's what I think.
You are 30 seconds away from your best friend, your worst friend, your boyfriend, and the captain. And sometimes it's too close for comfort.
And hopefully a great sounding band.
Yeah, exactly. Lots of great music. So the smaller living space with access to all of these amenities is fantastic. And one last thing I wanted to point out, it's interesting, and I'm not sure who else has observed this, but today we're actually talking to 3 men who are living in co-housing and promoting co-housing. And I think for a long time, it's been kind of the observation that co-housing and co-living and intentional living has been driven by women for a number of different reasons. But the guys are really on board with this. You know, I think it's really exciting that there are so many men who are seeing that it's better for their mental health, right? Like, when do men open up and talk about mental health? The ones who are looking at co-housing sure do. And I think that's just fantastic. So thanks for that.
Let's make it clear. I want to live with women.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you don't want to live in a house full of men, right? You want to live with women, but it's definitely way better than living on your own. So there were a couple of questions that came up. Cailan, I think this first one was for you. How much do you charge for matching people? And then there was another question about insurance. So how does having someone in your property impact your insurance? So if you can take a sec to answer those, Cailan, then we'll jump over to Bill and Esther.
Certainly. So I'll start with the fees for service. We charge a $50 matching fee once you sign a contract with a person. And then our ongoing support, we charge 5% of the monthly rent. And then as far as, so what was the second part of the question?
Insurance.
The insurance.
So how is your insurance impacted? Because that we know that
yes.
insurance companies are changing so crazy right now.
Absolutely. So when it comes to home sharing, majority of home insurance covers you as long as you inform your insurance provider. So it depends on each individual's home insurance, but majority of the cases we see that there's no changes to the pricing of their policy. They just need to inform their insurance provider that they have a boarder living with them in their house. And in most cases, you can have up to two non-related people living with you without any changes to your home insurance policy. We've had some people in the past that have added an additional person, and it was about an extra $20 per year for that extra coverage.
Okay. Fantastic, thanks. Great, and I'll keep seeing if there are any questions, if there's any questions for Gord. But right now I'm going to turn it over to my houseies, Bill Chalmers and Esther Sarlo, to give you another perspective on what it's like to be living in co-housing from the perspective of probably two people who didn't think that they were going to live in co-housing, and now you can't imagine living any other way. So Esther, take it away.
Okay, well, thanks, Liza, and hi to everybody who's on the call. We kind of fell into this. We went on a trip to Thailand. I'll keep this really brief. We went on a trip to Thailand and rented a house. A friend of ours rented a house that was 10,000 square feet, and we ended up staying there for, I think it was almost 3 weeks, 2 weeks for sure, and just loved the experience so much, but never thought anything of it when we came back home. And then our living situations changed, a few of us. And so we went, well, why don't we go see if there's a house, a big house with lots of rooms, and of course everyone has to have their bathroom because we're too old for that. So we ended up seeing that there were a lot of properties that could have fit our needs or sort of fit our needs, and then we found a couple that were like, wow, this could really work. So we started off with 4 adults, and we're all in our 50s and 60s, while somebody now is in her 70s. And we had a house with 4 of us, and we each had our own bedrooms, own bathrooms, some office space, lots of communal space, and a big backyard with a magnolia tree in it. It was lovely. We anticipated staying there for 3 years with the option to renew for another 3. But one day we woke up and there were mushrooms growing through the carpet in the living room. And we went, well, probably not. This is probably not going to be the house. So we were on the hunt again. That was about a year. And then we found this house where we're at, and now we live with 7 adults, including Bill and myself, and a baby, and we range from 15 months to 74 years of age. So, and we still there are some of us now who share rooms and couples, and then some single people, but every room has their own bathroom, which is fantastic, and lots of common space. And we're full. There's no more room in this house, but there's so many advantages. And the reality is there are some things you have to work on. It's not for the faint of heart. That's how I say it. If you're going to live in co-housing, you have to really be willing to look at your stuff. And to varying levels, and it probably depends on the community. We're all pretty strong-willed here. And so, but there are so many benefits. that we could just talk about it forever. And I realize time is limited, so I'll turn it over to Bill.
Now we've got, it was interesting listening to Gordon talk about all the amenities in that 5,000 square foot house. We have a music studio, recording studio, we have a media room, we have a sauna, we have a steam shower, we have an art room, we have like, we got this huge dining room we can sit 18 people in. Like, we have got it made in the shade is how it feels. And my being a self-proclaimed hermit, never going to ever live with anybody ever again, thank you very much, has transformed, because I have more privacy. Even with all that and all these people, I can exit virtually anything that's going on, which can include one of the people that's in the house is somewhat, every once in a while she's antisocial. She comes out, gets her dinner, goes back to her room and watches the news, if you can imagine. And it's okay to do that. Like, there's a place in all this that we can be fully ourselves inside a tent that is so right now in the COVID-19 issues. I'm listening to, I'm a business coach and a turnaround guy, and I'm listening to some of my clients who are in complete breakdown because they're on their own, and they're feeling really bad about they can't even go and be with anybody because they're self-isolating. And there's a couple of them came back from other parts of the world, and they had to quarantine themselves alone. A wife was away attending her mother in Surrey. He came back and had to be on his own. They're envious of the fact that at least we can continue to either play games or have conversations, or at least, you know, you've got people around you. It's kind of cool. And I have to admit, with the baby, which I thought I was done with all that crap, because I had 2 kids. They're old. They have their own children. My youngest grandchild is 11 or 12. This is delightful. She doesn't know anything about any of this stuff, and she's fully engaged with all of us. And there's this love fest. We call it baby TV. We don't even turn the TV on. We just watch her. And there is a way in all this that's transformative for me as an old guy. It was like, I couldn't imagine before going to Thailand. And this has been magical. It truly is. And I cannot imagine myself ever living any other way. Like, we'll find a house. Like, there's hundreds of them are available. And I don't want to have to go through the grief that Gordon and their crew are going through. Let's just go find a house and figure out if we can do it. But we can't have all your amenities and, you know, crazy room for people to go and play bagpipes and, you know, all that stuff.
Yeah, we don't own our house. We should mention that. We lease it year to year. We've asked for a longer term lease, and the owners choose not to do that. But we've been here 5 years. Our lease is up at the end of May, and they've renewed it for another year. So there's no reason for them to stop at this point. And we're exceptional tenants. We keep the place and the property pristine, and they can stop in at any time should they wish to see what we're doing, because it's pretty much always the same. And it's a really amazing life. I never imagined that I'd do this, and here we are.
And in difference, in the context of Gordon's presentation, is our costs per person are significantly less than if we were living, even like I owned a 1,100 square foot condo in Mount Pleasant, and my mortgage payment is less. What was more money than I'm paying now, and everything here includes food and internet and everything else but my cell phone. Everything. That's remarkable. Like, you know, who can do this?
Absolutely. So yeah, for us, there's so many benefits. Cost savings is kind of one of the unexpected benefits, I think, is when you add up all of your expenses, your hydro, your internet, the economies of scale conversation has come up a couple of times. You know, having 7 people sharing internet doesn't mean that it's going to be $100 each, right? It means it's going to be, you know, pennies each. It's much less expensive, and we eat like kings and queens around here. We have organic groceries, and we just eat so well, and we do lots of cooking together, and it's fantastic. And Bill and Esther have set up an awesome house, and I've been here for a few months now, and I probably won't be going anywhere except, you know, Mexico when I buy that property with my 5 gal pals, and I'll be gone for 3 months of the year. Whoop, whoop, Mexico, Spain, Portugal, not this week, but coming soon.
But not this week.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yes. Gosh, prices in Italy are going to be even cheaper than they were before for housing. So that's going to be really interesting. So thank you for sharing that with us. And I know Bill and Esther and I have done, we just recently recorded a podcast on co-housing as well. Cailan and I are going to record a podcast, and I'm sure I'll be able to get Gord on a podcast too. So we'll be releasing those at the end of April, and I'll let you know via the website where you can find those. So what I'll do now, Alisa, I'm going to bring up my little slide deck, and then you and I can talk about our particular passion for co-housing, and give us the perspective, if you would, from Toronto. So do you want to start with telling us a little bit about what's going on in Toronto, and I'll just bring my slides up.
Yeah, absolutely. I just wanted to touch on before I got into Toronto, you know, you're absolutely right what Cailan and
Gordon.
Gordon talked about, you know, in terms of loneliness and stranger danger, you know, the combination of the two is preventing people from even looking at co-housing, co-living arrangements. I've lived with people all my life, and so when I suddenly found myself or created myself to be single and moved to Toronto, a brand new city for myself, I didn't look twice at living on my own. I sought out a co-living arrangement, and so I'm a definite proponent, not only because of the social isolation part that you talked about, but also Toronto is an extremely expensive city. So as you know, killing two birds with one stone, I'm in my second co-housing arrangement, and even today, Liza and I dug up some examples of how we could still, in today's money, lease something and create that co-housing just to see if you like it, and see, you know, get a taste for it before you embark on something that might be a little bit more permanent, like what Gordon is engaging with. And Cailan, I can't wait until Happipad is out here in Toronto as well, in Ontario. You know, I definitely do see a lot of need. I see it from the housemates that I acquire, and from all the inquiries that we do get on just my little place here. So I've got five rooms in total, and yeah, it's wonderful to have somebody around, some people around in this day and age, especially with this social distancing period.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think the multi-generational and multi-ethnic, right? I mean, when you talk about stranger danger, I mean, one of the things that we need, and we've talked a little bit about this too, is building relationships, right? This is building relationships, building trust, finding your tribe, finding those like-minded people. And when you're living in a multi-generational, multi-ethnic group of people, you learn so much more about each other, and the idea of fearing other cultures just seems crazy to you, because there's nothing to fear. You know, we all kind of want the same thing in the end. We want to be loved and respected, and we want to be able to trust the people that we're surrounding ourselves with. And when you're living in lots of diversity, you see that that's so doable. Alisa, do you happen to have the Toronto property that you were looking at? Because I can bring that up, and then I'll just go quickly through a couple of my slides.
Yes, for sure.
Okay, I'll make you the presenter, and maybe just tell us a little bit about, we decided we'd have a quick look and just see what examples were out there. And so if you just share your screen, there you go. We'll have a look at the Toronto properties that you found.
I'm just going to close this.
And again, if anybody has any, yeah. And again, if anyone has any questions, please feel free to pop those in the question box. That looks nice.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a cute little house, but it has 5 bedrooms and 3 bathrooms for under $5,000 a month. So, and that is in a premium location near High Park. So, yeah, it's kind of Toronto's version of, oopsies, did I do this? Ignore. Is Toronto's version of, say, Queen Elizabeth Park, if you will. So there's beautiful gardens and a bit of a conservatory area, nice walking paths, and beautiful cherry blossoms. That's where Torontonians go to see cherry blossoms.
That looks great.
So High Park is a
5
very
bedrooms,
premium
3
area.
bathrooms.
Yeah, exactly. So this is one example, and then I have a second, 3 more examples. One in Don Mills, and this is a larger location. It's 5 plus 2 bedrooms with 5 bathrooms at a little bit higher, 6980, but you can see it's a newer building, 2 or 3 stories. Then you've got something in Mimico, which is towards Etobicoke, also for under $5,000. And again, this is 5 plus 1 bedrooms with 4 bathrooms. And it's larger than the first one that I showed you. So it's up to about 5,000 square feet. So these are large homes. They're not your typical, 2,500 square foot homes, right? And everything is beautifully finished inside. The other one in Forest Hill South. I mean, how many of you thought that you could ever afford to live in Forest Hill South, right? So for $7,000, you can get yourself and 4 other buddies to share this beautiful, beautiful home in a prime location. So Forest Hill South might be, I don't know, like South Granville or Shaughnessy area, right, in Vancouver. Beautiful location, tree-lined street. And, this is how you can start creating your co-living space and see if you like it, start seeing who might be interested, if you're enjoying more of the multi-generational experience or more of the multicultural experience. It's up to you to create it as you see fit.
Those look beautiful. I'd be happy to live in any one of those houses with some cool roommates. So we had a question from Shannon. How do we all fit in family visitings and coming over for dinner and so on and so forth? So I'm happy to take a stab at this, and then Bill and Esther, you could probably add a little bit. But we have a large house. I mean, our dining room, as Bill mentioned, seats 14 people, and we've done whole workshops in there. We've had 20 people in there doing a workshop. So family coming over to visit, I think the thing is asking family to leave because they end up wanting to stay. So it's not an issue. We have a spare bedroom. We have a super comfortable sofa bed that's got like the most comfortable mattress in the world. And visitors come and, they bring their joy and their energy, and it just has, I mean, it's just never an issue. Bill, Esther, have you got anything to add on that?
Yeah, we've actually had the Universal Gospel Choir here. I'm talking about the whole choir. There was 80 plus. We fed them, and we didn't sit them in the dining room. They were in and out of the house. We have a large property here with a grape arbor in the back and a 3-car garage. Like it's pretty neat space. We've also had house concerts here with really quality musicians, where we've had 80 to 100 people sitting in the backyard listening to a bunch of people, a band with 10 pieces singing off the back deck. And we've had concerts inside the house as well, that we can hold 60 people in our front foyer and part of the living room. It's pretty amazing. And there's a way that would never have been possible. Even in my previous housings that I've lived in, I could never have done that. Yeah. So there is a place that it does expand the possibilities in a way that none of us actually thought would happen.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah, Thanksgiving dinners, like holiday dinners, we can all invite friends, and there's plenty of room. And if we need to set up somewhere else besides the dining room, we've had 25 people at mutual birthday celebrations. We just set up some folding tables and put tablecloths on, and it's just wonderful.
I think one of the things that we'll do over the next week or so that when we release this webinar out as a recording, we'll do a video walkthrough of our house just so that you can see it as an example. It shows quite nicely. So let me know if you can see my slides. I'm just going to go through a couple fairly quickly because everybody has done such a great job of talking about what co-housing is. I think one of the key points that we're trying to make is that this is about options, right? There are all of us who are presenting to you today are talking about how the co-living, the sharing economy, the intentional community, there were some great words that came up, you know, institutional retirement homes. It's like, who wants to do that? Intentional living, your chosen family, companionship, all of these are kind of the key words and philosophies that come up when we talk about cohabitating with people, and the fact that it can be done anywhere and in many different models. You know, for me personally, being the founder of the Women's Real Estate Network, when I'm talking with people about investing and joint venture agreements and how you set up structure, people say, well, how do you set it up? And the answer to that is, well, however way you want. So it's, you know, it's really about the people who you're bringing together, getting the right agreements together, getting things in place, and using the model that works for you. So Gordon's got a great model, Cailan's got a great model, we've got a great model, Alisa in Toronto is working on a great model, and so there are a number of different options. So we're running close to 11, and I think I said this was going to run for just over an hour. So can everybody see my slides? No? Oh, you can't. Okay, hold on. Give me a second here. Show my screen. Let's see. Okay, how about now? Yep, okay. Yep,
Oh, yep.
Awesome. So I'm going to just go through these fairly quickly because, you know, we have covered most of these already, but here's an example, you know, Thailand. Bill, you mentioned staying in Thailand. This is a property that was built for a multi-generational family. They wanted all of their family to live in Thailand. So I love this property. I think it's really neat. And again, it's just, we're showing you how unique and different things can be, or they can be, you know, very simple. Here is a student co-housing project in Milan. I thought, oh, sorry, no, this one's in Madrid in Spain. So did student housing look like this when you were living in student housing? And this is one that I'm personally looking at right now. This is a very large property in Mexico. It's actually 14 individual suites in a very large house in a place called Nuevo Vallarta. And we're looking at getting a group of people together to buy this property, and it would literally work in terms of half of the house can be for our co-housing group and the other half can be for rentals, or however we decide to set it up. And this gorgeous 14 suite house is for sale for 1.4 million US. So in Vancouver, that buys you one house, maybe if you're lucky. And here it buys you a full kitchen, a full bathroom in each little mini suite, and then there's, you know, yoga studios and full commercial kitchen and a big common area. So again, it's kind of that thinking outside the box, right? Do you want to go into a retirement home, or do you want to get a bunch of your girlfriends or your families together and buy a property like this? So couple of, I'm going to skip past this here. I think, you know, we'll talk about my background another time. There's a couple pictures of me here running co-housing from all over the world. I've done co-housing in Bondi Beach, Australia, where David Suzuki came and stayed with us, and co-housing on Vancouver Island and I've been doing it on and off for 25 years. So here are just a couple of properties. For example, Alisa showed you a couple in Toronto. I looked at these in Victoria a couple weeks ago. These ones were for sale. So again, depending on how you want to set it up, it could be for sale or for rent. These two happen to be for sale. Here's a 5-bedroom, 3-bathroom in beautiful James Bay, Victoria, for 1.25 million. So are you going to spend $600,000 or $700,000 on a condo and live in a condo, or would you consider getting a few friends together and buying a really great property? So that's an option. What I wanted to do was get an idea of how many postings there were. So this was from a few weeks ago. There were 26 houses that were more than 4 bedrooms and more than 3 bathrooms. So there are some out there. This was in Victoria. Now, and then this was same kind of properties for rent. Now in Vancouver, I don't think I had the same slide in here for Vancouver, but when I looked in Vancouver a couple months ago, there were 250 for rent and almost 280 that were for sale. So over 500 large properties that were available. And I'm just going to show you this slide quickly. You know, when we talk about the expenses, we talk about, you know, you've got your rent, your hydro, your internet, your miscellaneous expenses, your insurance. And if you're living on your own in a place like Vancouver or Victoria, or maybe even in Toronto, you can imagine you're probably going to be spending about $1,400 a month on rent. Your internet's going to be $100, your hydro, your miscellaneous, your groceries. So it basically adds up to a total of about $2,050 per month. Now that's for your basic 1-bedroom with those expenses. And if we shift over, and just hitting my little button here, and it looks like it's stuck. If we shift, click again, try that again. Oh, I think I went, oh, here's an example of a 1-bedroom at $1,400. So there's a classic example for you. Here's a couple more properties in Victoria that were for rent. I just want to see if I can bring up that those expenses here. Oh, here are a couple in Vancouver that I was talking about. I mean, yeah, there's some gorgeous houses here. Here's one in North Vancouver, $5,900 for a 5-bedroom waterfront house. I would mind living in a place like that. Anybody want to find a place like that together? Here's one in Richmond, and here we just get to the expenses. So I'll just take a couple of quick minutes here just to give you some ideas about the expenses. So we've got a property where, if you're again grouping all of those people together, you're looking at something around the line of $850 per person. You're bringing your expenses down in a semi-luxury property to about $1,450 per month. And there's a couple of really interesting things that come up here. So imagine you're sharing that with 5 people. Your saving potentially could be about $600 per month, $7,200 per year, and this is a number that I love. If you share that between your 6 people and take that money over 5 years, you've saved approximately $200,000. So now you could take that $200,000 and put it on a down payment in that place in Mexico or something like that. So just wanted to give you an idea about how, if it is more on the cost saving piece that you're looking at, there are definitely some cost saving opportunities. If you're looking at it for the lifestyle and you want to live large in luxury, you can still do that affordably as well. So a couple of questions here. Let's see. Incredible. Oh, thanks. Yes, it is incredible. We love it. What crucial things to look for when you're looking for the right people? So we could probably all chime in to add something like that, and that will probably be a good thing to close on. Crucial things are, you know, like-minded, who, you know, doing background checks, doing the proper things that you would do if you were a landlord, taking on a tenant, you know, building those relationships, doing some background checks, finding like-minded people. I love how Gordon talks about a lot of musicians are being attracted to that group because they're going to make it something that musicians can really participate in. So anybody else have something to add there? Feel free to jump in.
Yeah, I want to add a few things. From our observations, we found that clearly communicating your house rules and expectations are very important. We found that people who are a little bit too easygoing at first, and then, you know, later on decide that they want to enforce strict house rules, it leads to complications. So just be very transparent from the beginning of what you're looking for, and look for people that share those same values. And aside from finding the most compatible people, it's when you first start living together, you clearly want to communicate how you're going to share space, what the house rules are, what your expectations are for cleaning and organizing spaces. If you can resolve those and clearly set those standards within the first week, then you'll enjoy your living arrangement much more.
And I know that all of us have examples of what those are, or what those look like. You know, we've got a set of house policies. Bill and Esther, do you want to speak about that for a sec? Oh, you're frozen.
Well,
Gord, did you have anything you wanted to add about finding those like-minded people while we see if Bill and Esther can unfreeze?
Yeah, I'd like to echo Cailan's point that you need people who share a sort of common social philosophy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if, I mean, I think that's sort of the extent of like-mindedness that you need. You need to have people who are relatively gregarious, people who are willing to be in sort of a sharing environment, people who aren't too fussy about their privacy, although co-housing certainly provides for privacy, but I don't think it's something that you can be particularly concerned with. And other than that, I think it's great to have people who have diverse interests so that you don't have a community that is too homogeneous.
Yeah, I would completely agree. And I think the principle too is looking at their values.
Mm-hmm.
If my value is penny pinching tight fistedness and somebody else's value is being a little more kind around their finances and want to support and help that greater good conversation, potential for conflict goes up around those kind of things. So shared values doesn't mean we have the, if somebody's driving a different car than the other person, that doesn't matter. But there's a values conversation about how you'll take care of things and what you'll put away and that kind of thing. And you've got to be willing to duke it out sometimes. I heard a phrase, inter-wrestling. I think Cailan saying that. I think that's a legitimate term that you're going to have when you live bumping into each other and touching each other. I think there's a place that inter-wrestling is kind of a cool thing, but you got to give up your positions, got to be a lot of collaboration, a lot of cooperation, that kind of thing.
Fantastic. Great. Anything to add, Alisa?
I think, yeah, just 1 minute. I think my experience is actually a little bit more open and broader than what you guys have experienced so far or have expressed. Maybe I'm a little bit more open to diversity and trying to create inclusive and safe space for anybody who wants to walk through the door, as long as they are interested in shared accommodation. So they need to know that going in. As well as that their lifestyle is not completely opposite of ours. For example, they don't work nights and they have to sleep during the day. So we are going to make some noise. There's going to be activity going on during the day. It doesn't matter if they're social or not social, because as you know, there's opportunity for all types. And if they want to be private, they can either stay in their rooms or they can go out on their own. We give them a heads up if we're going to be having a gathering, and they're definitely welcome. Everyone is welcome to everything.
Fantastic. Well, I think what we'll do, because it's 10 after 12 and we said we'd just go just over an hour. If there are any more questions, feel free to get those popped in there very quickly while we're just wrapping up. But hopefully this has given you another perspective on what co-housing looks like. Co-housing, co-living, sharing, cohabitation, intentional living, all of the terminology is, what it really comes down to is it's a lifestyle opportunity, and there are, great opportunity to participate. We know that once COVID-19 comes to an end, this whole phenomenon is going to explode, and we will be we'll be pulling together a full day workshop for those of you who want to dive in a little bit deeper. We've got people from all different spectrums who are creating for this niche, creating things that work in each of the different scenarios. And so we're really grateful for all of you today to come and share your knowledge and expertise with us. It's great to get so many different perspectives, and hopefully those of you who are interested will reach out, and we'll make this recording available as well. And for now, we will say a very big thank you to everyone for joining us. And I'm Liza Rogers, the founder of WREN, the Women's Real Estate Network, saying thank you so much on behalf of everyone. We're better together, and that's just being proven more and more often, and we hope that we'll see you soon in the future in person or on another webinar. Have a great day. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.